Hi, it's Ren from Spirits of Fashion. Thanks for returning to my channel. I thought I would do a get to know me video because I haven't been doing this for that long, and I thought it would be fun to just talk about how I got to this point. I love doing the videos. I still have a lot to learn, and hoping that I'm going to be able to bring content that will interest people, especially people in the vintage world and vintage lifestyle that I so love myself. I try not to make this too long. I just wanted to start from the earlier years because it makes a difference in how I got to where I am now. My first career was as a registered dietitian, which I did for 20 years or so, and never really had a passion for it. I had several jobs that were okay and other jobs I really very much disliked. And that led to me to having to do some serious soul searching on how I was going to change that and finally be able to do something that I really loved and had a passion for. My earliest passion since I was 5 years old was ballet, and I did do ballet for many years. In fact, until recently I was still dancing. And then we moved and everything sort of changed, but I've been dancing for a long time. But that kind of stopped being my true passion. So I had to find another one. And I actually was talking to a friend. It was very serendipitous. I was talking to an old friend about how I disliked my career as a dietitian. And to make a long story short, he made it easy for me to see an option that I didn't know I had. He asked me what my favorite things were. What did I love to do or love to research, etc. And I told him, well, I've been collecting vintage clothing for quite a few years. I love history, I love antiques, and I love the past in general. I have a real passion for the way people lived in the past. And I said, but you know, I'd like to have a vintage clothing store perhaps, but I don't have the money for that. So, and I can't get a degree in it. And he said, oh, you're wrong about that. And he told me about a woman he knew at the University of Rhode Island who was a friend of his at the time, and that there was a program in textiles, merchandising, and design that had a concentration in historic costume and textiles. So I had no idea. And he gave me her name. I called her. I went in the next couple of days and started with joining the Costume Society of America, which is a wonderful organization nationally that focuses on the history of dress and textiles and has wonderful symposia, both internationally, nationally, and at the regional level. So I went to my first symposium in November of 1999, I'll never forget, and it was at the Textile Museum in Lowell, Massachusetts, and the whole exhibition was on Hollywood costume. Well, I thought I died and went to heaven, and I don't know if any of you have ever had a moment like this, but I knew that was the right thing. I knew it was where I should be, and I never looked back. I finally applied to graduate school and did get a degree in historic dress and textiles, and I taught for 13 years at the college level, and although I really liked it and I knew it was a much better place for me, I knew I had something else that I needed to do. And a couple of things started to happen at the same time. I had an opportunity to do a presentation on fashions of the Titanic. This was in 2012, and being the anniversary, the 100-year anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic, it was a perfect opportunity. So I did a presentation at Attleboro Public Library in Massachusetts. I dressed in repro costume, and I had a slideshow and video clips and clothing and accessories, and I had the time of my life. And we had a good audience that night, and I just knew that was the right place for me to be. Meanwhile, my husband, Mike, and I decided that we wanted to open a store. He knew that's what I wanted to do all along as well. And so we looked all over New England, 2,000 miles that summer of 2012, I believe, or 2013. And we finally settled on a store in Providence, Rhode Island, And it was a store that I used to go to that I loved. It was my favorite antique store, but they had closed for a few years. Well, it happened to have a for lease sign on it, and we contacted the owners, and the rest is history. We opened a similar store to what they had had for 30 years and had a wonderful time for 5 years. And then finally, my husband said, I'm done. I did 5 years. I loved it, but I'm all set. I want to move on to other things. Meanwhile, I had had some definite health challenges for a couple of years, and we had been going up to Vermont, and I've only been married to my husband for 6 or 7 years now, so we really didn't realize this right away about each other, but we'd both always loved Vermont individually. And I always thought about living there, and so had he. And we have one son who's up there now living there, and maybe more coming. So to make a longer story shorter, we are moving there in another month or so. And so that's the reason why I've been having trouble getting my videos going, because I want to find the perfect spot to film them. And we're staying in a fabulous home in Massachusetts that friends of ours own, and we're very fortunate to have it. But we don't have all our things with us, and so it's become a little bit more challenging to do the videos I'd like to do. Anyway, that is my story. I decided that I would continue with these events. They became quite popular in areas of Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and some of the places that I go to at least once or twice a year. And I still love it, still do the same kinds of shows, and I love my audiences, and they really appreciate what I do, fortunately. I'd like to continue this in Vermont, but I'd also like to continue doing my YouTube channel and developing that. So I would love it if I could develop more followers, and I would be delighted to do whatever kinds of vintage, historic related things that you might enjoy, such as vintage styling, thrifting, which I have been doing, and vintage hauls as well, talking about various times in history and the social aspects of it, as well as the wardrobe and living situations might have been for people in the past. So if any of you have any ideas, please comment for me, and I'd be happy to try to get that going for you. I also love cosmetics and makeup, especially historic kinds of cosmetics, and something like Besame, which I am wearing the lipstick right now, and I do love their company because they try to really nail down the formulas of the past in different parts of the 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s, 60s, and 70s, and I just love their formula. And I'd like to do more videos revolving around vintage type makeup styles, and that hopefully will be something you might enjoy as well. So thank you for listening. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about me, and hopefully you'd be interested in subscribing. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in the near future. Thanks so much. Bye.